Okay, ladies and germs, we'll be going live with approximately 15 minutes time with Las Vegas, Nevada-based Zarina McCOY. She's going to be talking about her career, what she got coming up next month, and a few tidbits, things that are happening in the sport. I want to get her thoughts on some of those things as well as her own career and what she's got going on. I've already sent her the link, already had correspondence, so she should be arriving shortly. In the in between time, the rules of engagement are as followed. If any of you in the chat have a question you would like to issue to Zarina, simply present it in the form of a super chat because I will notice the color icon. My eyes are going to be fixed on the screen, so I won't be looking at what's going on in the chat. But when I see the color icon pop up, I'll know that somebody has a question they would like to ask. In the in between time, well, I think we're all waiting for Spence versus Crawford to get announced, to be official. And it's been a waiting game, man. It just feels like it's taking forever. But just based on stuff I heard, it is going to happen. It's supposed to be announced soon. The thing is that I've been hearing that for a while, so who really knows? I feel like Showtime kind of has to do it. They have to ensure that it happens because it would reflect poorly on them if it doesn't. There's no Top Rank, there's no ESPN, so you don't have to worry about network politics or promotional politics. Crawford is a free agent, so you should be able to do the fight and simultaneously satisfy the purse demands of the fighters because, they offered Canelo Alvarez something like $100 million to box on their platform for 2 fights. He didn't, but they offered him that. They had money for Jaime Munguia to cross over and fight Jermall Charlo. Once again, that's another fight that didn't materialize. What's good, boxing god? They had money to offer Munguia to cross over to their side of things for a fight with Jermall Charlo that I've no doubts would have been billed as a pay-per-view. When you think about Jermall Charlo, they haven't had to spend any money on him because he hasn't boxed at all this year. He was supposed to fight Suliatsky, but he reportedly got a back injury, so they haven't had to, spend any money on his fight, his card. I heard something about blackout. Que lo que, manín? Heard something about a blackout in either September or October in reference to the PBC's programming on Showtime, that they won't be doing any cards in either September or October on Showtime. And I interpreted that as a positive omen, a positive sign that the fight is underway, because in all likelihood, that could be them reallocating resources to ensure that the operational costs and financial demands, the purse demands of the fighters, are covered. Why else would you go into the fall without a comprehensive schedule of fights? Why else would you go into the month of September, October, whichever one it is, and not do a show? That might be because you're using those resources to put together the Crawford and Spence fight. Appreciate that, Brody. West Coast is the best coast. That's what I'm told. Might have to go over there, check it out, because that's what they tell me. The West Coast is the best coast. And me loving hot weather, that goes together like ground turkey and cheddar. That rhymed. I was a rapper in a previous life. I spat hot bars of fire, hot fire. And yeah, man, we're going to have Zarina on. Zarina's a bright, young up-and-comer. I've been watching her over the years develop into a fighter. Very busy fighter. Always keeps a busy schedule. She's had approximately, I'd say, 11. This could be 12 fights next month since debuting as a professional in 2019. Very good young fighter, pure boxer, southpaw. You know how tricky those southpaws can be. They could frustrate an orthodox fighter. And yeah, man, we out here. She'll be joining shortly. I have the customary Café Bustelo. For those that don't know, my favorite brand is Café Bustelo because it'll put hair on your chest. It's strong, but not so strong that it's very bitter, but not so bitter that, it's good coffee. It's good for you. It makes you stronger, makes you faster. I could easily jump over this building if I wanted to. Easily. It's like coffee on steroids, man. It's great stuff. And yeah, man. West Coast is the best coast. But I heard that I've had this conversation before here on the channel. I've heard some adverse things about California and the state of California, that, they're not doing very well right now. Many Californians are actually migrating out of the state due to the high taxes and living conditions, the homeless situation, that there's a lot of homeless in the streets. So I will put off a major move to California, at least for now. Texas or Arizona look like genuine possibilities, but we'll see. I might buy a house out here. You never know. You never know. Big move like that isn't something you just do on a whim, especially when you got kids, like I do. Y ya tú sabes, manín, estamos aquí para la vaina. And yeah, man. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the sport. And as stated, I feel that Showtime has a responsibility to deliver that fight, because other platforms are delivering major fights and important fights. And it would reflect poorly on them if they cannot internally deliver that fight on their own. They're a premium cable network. They've been showing boxing for many, many years. When the narrative was that Bob Arum was a hindrance and Top Rank was a hindrance, well, they're not in the picture anymore. So what's the hindrance now? Expensive, bro. And yes, it's beautiful. That's why everyone's moving here, and the middle class getting pushed out. Yeah, that's what I heard, man. You got to have a lot of money to live in California. The cost of living is actually higher there than it is in New York City. And that's saying a lot. I moved out of New York because of the cost of living. It's like, what are you paying for when you're living there? It's cool when you're young and you want to have fun and stuff like that. But if your aim is to actually own something, like own a piece of land or own a home, New York is not the place for you. Now, if you're a budding doctor or an actor or something, that maybe New York is right for you. But I'm Joe Blow. I'm regular. I ain't trying to do none of that. I got out of the city almost 10 years ago. Looks like I did it at the right time, because I've heard not so good things about the state of the city right now. It's kind of going to hell in a handbasket. And yeah, man, it'd be like that. You know what I mean? It'd be like that. We got Baumgartner versus Mayer coming up. Very much looking forward to that. I'll see if I can get Alicia to come on at least one more time before the fight. I'll see if I can get her to come on and just have some parting words, some spicy talk for her old buddy Michaela Mayer. Everybody enjoys it. I don't feel here and now that just a few days, a little over a week out from the fight, I don't really feel like Top Rank and Sky pushed it as hard as they could have. Those are two very good fights. Baumgartner versus Mayer, Shields versus Marshall. Now, Shields versus Marshall has been some years in the making, so it wasn't all on Sky and Top Rank to promote that fight. But the fight between Michaela and Alicia was very recently made, so I feel like enough wasn't dedicated to that. I wanted to see a sit-down, gloves are off style confrontation between the champions, and I haven't seen that yet. I don't know if we're going to see that, or I don't know if they're saving that for fight week or something, but that's something that you would have wanted to put out weeks ahead of the fight to just show, like, oh shit, and they didn't do that. And like I said, if I don't see something soon, I'm going to reach out to Alicia, who's been on the channel many times before, friend of the channel, very cool person, very gracious with the fans, always nice, always willing to lend her time. And I'll see if I can get Michaela on. I've never actually spoken to Michaela. I've never actually done a Q&A with Michaela, so that's going to be novel. But it's also going to be awkward because I'm very much biased when it comes to that fight. So I don't even know if I can get her on, but, I don't know. Joe, no, que lo que, manín? Gentrification and taxes are killing everyone. It's the same in New York. Gentrification and taxes. It's the same way in New York, man. It's like you're spending so much money. Like, for perspective, a pack of cigarettes, I don't even know what a pack of cigarettes costs in New York anymore. But when I left, I believe it was up to $13. I believe it was up to $13. And all of that is taxes. The hike in the cigarettes, all of that is taxes, plain old taxes that go to the state. It's like, dog, like, what the hell are you paying for when you live there, It's nuts. But yeah, man, you know what it is. Y'all know what it is. We got 21 in the building, so I want 21 likes. If it's 21 of y'all in here, y'all need to like this video 21 times. That's what y'all need to do. Wayne Hennessy in the building. Hey! What's over there in the corner? It's a bunch of Nerf guns over there in the corner. It's a bunch of Nerf guns. That's what I be having over there. I be shooting my son with them joints. We be playing with them and all that. And yeah, man. Having Nerf wars and all that. Here at Summer's End, we're going to go from water gun fights to Nerf fights. Michael Blount is in the building. Hey! Know what time it is, Sean? It's Ring IQ Relay time. And the next episode of the relay is actually already done. So immediately after this, I'll upload it. It's already done. Won't take but a few minutes to get up there for your viewing pleasure. Al Money in the building. Hey! Styles make fights. Hey! My thoughts on Usyk versus Fury. Great fight. It's an excellent fight for every reason that you want a fight to be excellent. The outcome of the fight is not a foregone conclusion. It really makes you think, because Tyson Fury's bread and butter has been his ability to move like a naturally smaller fighter. That's really been his bread and butter, that for a man that size, he's just so agile and so nimble, and his boxing and his variety, it's all on point. But you can't necessarily outlittle the little guy. And Tyson Fury, out of his own mouth, told Joe Rogan that he actually struggles with smaller fighters, that it's like trying to catch butter, that they're so slippery, that, and that makes sense, because you fighting a full-fledged heavyweight, you're fighting a bigger target than Usyk, who's a smaller target. You might actually have to give up a bit of height just to be able to hit this guy, because there is a noticeable height differential, a reach differential. You might have to punch down to try to hit that guy, and that might put you in line for some of his shots. With Usyk, what makes Usyk such an intriguing opponent for Fury is Usyk doesn't have gas tank issues. Usyk is a southpaw. So these are little advantages that Fury, Fury's known for having a good gas tank. He's known for being ambidextrous, that he can lead orthodox or he can lead southpaw. But we saw what he looked like with another southpaw not that long ago in Otto Berlin. Very challenging fight for him. Usyk is a southpaw. He's an Olympian, so we know what kind of pedigree he comes from. He's a gold medalist. He's got a great gas tank. I don't think Fury has faster hands than Usyk, but Fury has a lot of reach. So that there's just so many ways that could play out, that Usyk does have faster hands than Fury. He does have faster feet than Fury. He is more coordinated comparatively than Fury, but Fury has so much size on Usyk. How do you work around somebody that has that much size? If Fury makes the decision that he wants to mow him down and outweigh him and outfight him and outmuscle him and bully him, are your feet good enough to bull and matador this thing? Bull and matador it whilst landing scoring blows, because Usyk, his arms are a lot shorter than Fury's. So for you to even hit this guy, you've got to be within striking distance of him. And that puts you in the danger zone for uppercuts like the one that he landed on Dillian White, for body shots. And it's just a great fight, honestly. It's a great fight. Who would have known that those would be the last two men standing, that would be the gateway for Undisputed, that it would come down to Usyk and Fury, when all these conversations for the last 4 years, all these conversations, they were dominated by a Wilder versus Joshua fight. But I knew then they would never fight. I said that 4 years ago, that Joshua and Wilder, they're never going to fight. I thought it would come down to Joshua and Fury. That's what I thought. That's what I thought would be the heavyweight championship of the world. I thought it would be those two guys contesting it. But Usyk would not be denied, bro. Would not be denied. Fury has to hurt him and knock him out, in my opinion, because he fights dirty. He fights dirty. To think the ref gonna factor because of allowing clinching, yeah, that's true. That he might jab and try to tie him up and then lean on him to drain him. He's got a lot of size that he can use. And because he doesn't need to be within striking distance of Usyk, his arms are so long, it's not like he needs to be right up on him to touch him. If he's jabbing his way in from the outside coming in, Usyk automatically got to cover up and get out the way. So it's a great fight, man. It's a great fight. Punching down becomes an arm punch. It's hard to get the body weight into it because the angles are wrong. Punching up creates an arch from the rear foot to the hand. Architecture uses arches for strength. Yeah, and that's, I mean, at least a few fighters. Shout out to Al Money. I appreciate the super sticker. A few fighters I've spoken to, they've said that fighting a target that's eye level, someone who's the same size as you, is sometimes easier than fighting a smaller person or a smaller target because you have to punch down to hit them, or because they're tricky, they're slippery. They can slip those punches, get under them, come over with hooks and looping rights and all this crazy shit. I've heard that more than once from different fighters, that a small target can be very difficult because they're tricky, especially when they're barreling forward and they're slipping, slipping jabs and barreling forward, and before you know it, they're up on you. And mid-range to inside, the smaller fighter tends to have the advantage because their arms are shorter, so they can put punches together faster than somebody with long arms. Also, the person with long arms, they're going to have holes in the guard that you could put punches around the guard, or split it with uppercuts. So there's just different advantages that different fighters have based on how they're built. Those are some of Usyk's advantages, that he will have hand speed, but he only has hand speed mid-range to inside. When he's actually close to the guy, you have to get close to the guy. He'll have to with Fury, and if he's close enough to hit him, Fury's close enough to tie him up and lean on him. So it's just a great fight. Overall, it's intriguing. Right now, the issue is getting the financing for the fight, getting the money, because they want a lot of money. Like, Fury wants a lot of money. Like, he's been saying that he wants $500,000, but that's I mean, half $500 million, but that's got to be a joke. Like, and I talked about that a lot. That's got to be a joke. But obviously, he's going to want something substantial, or at least more than what he just made fighting Dillian White, which was reported to be around 30 mil. Probably wants 50, maybe even 100. And like I said in the video that I uploaded, if he wants 100, well, that means Usyk would have to get 100 because it's a 50-50 split. Is this a $200 million fight? Those are the challenges that the fight has. Frank Warren's good for half a... Well, Bob said that there's interest in Qatar and that there's interest in the UAE. So hopefully some wealthy sheik or some billionaire over there can bankroll the fight so that we get it. I'm not surprised it's not happening this year. Bob Arum already said it's not happening this year. They're looking for it to happen early next year. So, it is what it is. Shout out to my man Country, regular here on the channel. What's good, Jules and chat? Working. I think Fury can pull it off, but no easy fight for either guy. Hope Fury wins so he can fight AJ. We'll see. Yeah, that's another aspect of the conversation, that if Tyson Fury were to win the fight, he might stick around for at least one more fight with his domestic rival. That's possible, because that is still a money fight. Even with AJ not having a belt, that's still a very big fight, and I'm sure that it would garner interest from different sites all around the world, in Qatar, in the UAE, in Saudi Arabia. They would love to bankroll a fight like that. So he's got at least 2 paydays, not counting, the Francis Ngannou stuff and the Thor Bjornsson stuff and stuff like that. UAE, where it's at for the big money, Arab money. You're getting Arab money. UK mega, yeah, man, it's a lot of money to be made. I see some fight fans complain when fights go to these foreign countries like the UAE. And look, boxing is not a job that you're going to have forever. So if you can make Arab money, why not go into the UAE? Most motherfuckers going to watch the shit at home anyway. Unless you're trying to go to the fight, it's a non-issue. It's a non-issue. Like, for me, it's a non-issue. Like, man, fight could be in Florida, fight could be in the UAE. It don't make no difference. I'm going to watch it at home anyway. So I ain't against them getting their money. I heard Zerto got locked up this weekend. He's throwing beer cans at tourists. I don't know why he was doing that. Why you want to get locked up ahead of the Bivol fight? They'll probably get him out, though. Like, what's it cost to make bail in Mexico? You know what I mean? Like, they'll probably get him out. And he got money. Oscar go down there, throw them some C notes, some pesos, whatever you got to give him, and he'll get out. All right, Zarina just told me she about to jump on right now. And yeah, yo. So like I said, the rules of engagement are as followed. My eyes are going to be fixed on the screen. I'm going to be looking at Zarina. So any questions you might have for her, present them in the form of a super chat, because I'm not going to be reading the chat. I'm going to be looking at the screen. So when I see the color icon, I'll know somebody has a question. All right? And y'all know what time it is, Sean. It's that time of day. So good morning to some of you, good afternoon, and good evening to others. Good morning to the people over there in the Pacific and the West. Good afternoon to the people here on the East Coast, and good evening to the people in the United Kingdom. She's a young Las Vegas-based fighter who's going to be returning to action very soon, September 24th, south of the border, against Paulina Cardona. Very good young fighter, pure boxer, southpaw, sports professional record of 9 wins, 1 loss that shouldn't be a loss, and no draws, 2 knockouts. Very good young fighter. Been talking about CZARINA McCOY, I think, since she debuted as a professional in 2019. She's fought approximately 11 times since then. She's got a very good team that they keep her as busy as they keep her, because there's a lot of fighters. They don't fight that much, but she's fought a lot since 2019, which is good because she's young. She's only like 21. So all them rounds she get in the bank is making her a better fighter. And I'm just going to be asking her a few questions about her career, a few questions about what weight she's going to be campaigning at, a few trivia questions about some fights coming up, yada, yada, yada. Y'all know the drill. Y'all know what it is, son. They pay the fighters? Well, yeah, they do, man. They got long money out there, bro. And I can't knock nobody trying to get their money. Shit. If they had like fucking 6 figures for me to go over there and swim in a tub of mayonnaise, you think I'm not going to go? Hell, motherfucking yeah. Go to the UAE, chilling in the sand with the camels and all of that? Why not? It's sports washing, using events to improve the nation's image. They operate at a loss for the benefit of PR and marketing. Saudi needs that, but other nations in the area don't need it as much. And I've heard the sports washing issue, I have. But my thing is this, I'm a cynical person. I have a cynical view of most, if not all, world governments, as I feel that none of their hands are clean. So, shit. No problem. Yeah, she's having some Wi-Fi issues. I feel that all governments have blood on their hands. So when I think about Saudi and how oftentimes human rights issues are brought up, I also think about the U.S. government and what they do in foreign countries. And you know, you'd have to be naive to think that there's a perfect government out there. I understand the sports washing issue. Don't get me wrong. That, yeah, it's probably what it is, using sports to improve the nation's image. But I mean, this nation's image could use some improvement also. So, I mean, it's kind of like, for me, it's kind of like it's a non-issue. Like, all these governments got blood on their hands. All of them. All of them. This one, that one, they all do. Qatar has the World Cup. UAE doesn't have such a bad image. I'm not sure how much they'll be willing to overspend. Those are the 2 places that Bob Arum mentioned. He didn't mention Saudi. He mentioned Qatar. He mentioned the UAE. And just like Don't Ask Me said, those are legitimate questions. What's the right price for that fight? What's the commercial value of that fight? Because maybe Saudi would be willing to overspend, but they don't seem to be in the running. Maybe Qatar might be willing to overspend, you know, for the purposes of marketing. But will the UAE? She's at bantamweight, or she has been. CZARINA has campaigned as low as Superfly and as high as bantam. But this upcoming fight, I believe, is a lightweight contest, which is what I wanted to talk to her about. And, you know, we'll save the good questions and the good stuff when she get here. She having a little bit of Wi-Fi issues. How come nobody goes to fight in Israel? Well, I mean, unless the Israelis are putting up a big site fee to host the fight, that's why. You know, they got to put up that money. If Israel want to host a fight and they got a couple of millions they willing to put up, you know, but if they ain't, you know what I mean? You got to go where the money is. That's boxing. You do the fight where the fight stands to make the most money. and I'm sure many of you out there would agree, if somebody paid you more money to do the same job somewhere else, you do it. She moving all the way up. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Well, that's a part of why I reached out. I wanted to ask her about that. And just what's going to happen in the future, what's going to happen moving forward. For what it's worth, she's always had very good dimensions. She was always big for, like a super flyer or bantam. She was always big. Like, she had good height, good reach, good length. And she's the kind of fighter that, at least I thought at the time when she was down there at those lower weights. That's my wife calling me for some reason. Y'all give me a second. I don't know what she calling me to tell me. And yeah, man. I was Goody Chris in the building. Yeah, but I mean, if the Israelis wanted to host the fight, put up the money. That's how these things happen. The interest comes from the site to put up the site fee. Like, oh, we want to do that fight. We got 50 mil for you or 20 mil for you, whatever. That's how that happened. It don't happen on its own. They want to fight. They reach out like, yeah, we want to do it. We got 20 mil or whatever. You know, like I said, but I know of no Israeli interest in hosting boxing matches. I mean, I don't know if I you know what I mean. So yeah, Zarina's having Wi-Fi issues at this moment. That's why she's not joined the panel yet. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna quote some classic Beanie Siegel bars. I hope you got an extra mic and a fireproof booth, because I'm known to melt the wire or two. You need a fire engineer when I lay this blaze. A real I forgot the lyrics. Hit the studio, jaws a dro, bars to blow. B Siegel with the arsenic flow. Fuck that, don't hold me back. I roll for crack. Y'all cats told Mac to rap. Y'all don't realize y'all released the beast untamed. Speech all flame, speak the game. It should be an honor for y'all to speak my name. I could go before your auntie couldn't beat my game, and I laugh. Y'all act like y'all spit it the same. Why you motherfuckers can't get in the game? I come from high school and go straight to the lead. That's a classic. Y'all don't even know. I don't listen to rap no more, to be honest. Obviously, I grew up in Harlem. That was all I listened to when I was young. But it ain't what it used to be, man. It's ugh. Be turning on the radio, be like, ugh, it's trash, basura. Is the Spence versus Bud fight happening? As far as I know, it is. Everything I've heard is that it's happening. Here comes Zarina. Everybody, I'd like to introduce you to young Zarina McCOY, Las Vegas-based fighter. Zarina, how you doing?
Hi, I'm having I don't know what's going on with my laptop, so we're on the phone today.
All right, well, the signal's working well. So, first things first, I wanted to talk to you about the Zaraga fight, because I actually watched the fight. I didn't agree with the judges' scorecards, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that fight and how you felt when that judges' scorecard was read, and just all of that.
Wait, you froze. I didn't hear you at all.
Yeah, you froze too, but I thought you could hear me. I got you. I wanted to ask you about the Zaraga fight that happened south of the border. I actually watched the fight. Now I remember I corresponded with you, I think it was on Instagram, that I felt that you didn't lose the fight. In fact, I didn't see what Zaraga did to be awarded a decision, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
So I actually can explain that to you. When I was there, let me give you some context that when I was there for the fight, we were originally supposed to be working with War Promotions, which is under Nesto Neri. Last minute, we didn't know until we had already got down there that he had paired up with a promotion company called Latin Boy Promotions. So we weren't unaware. We usually don't do work with people we don't know. But, we were working with Nerium. We have worked with him a few times before, and he's really good. So we didn't really have an issue with it. Getting ready for the fight, how you're in the, you're backstage, you're stretching, you're getting ready, this, that, and the other. My opponent literally was sitting there the whole time. She didn't warm up. She didn't stretch. Nothing. She just sat in a chair for hours because we were there for hours. Like, just sat in the chair, like, relaxed. And when we saw it, we were like a little weirded out by it because, like, why are you just sitting there so calm? Like, you're not worried about, like, stretching, shadow boxing, getting ready, like, nothing. But we just brushed it off, like, maybe that's how they do it out here. Who knows? After the decision was given, Ernesto immediately put it into the commission, like, this is not right. Like, he did his part. He did his part. He definitely did. What we did find out after the fact was that the girl's manager who I fought is best friends with the commissioner of that city and pretty much paid him to put a loss on my record.
Yeah, because that's what I noticed about the fight, that and it's not just being a fan or whatever or being biased. I thought I'm gonna look at the fight because I actually watched whatever's available, and it seemed odd that you would lose to someone like that. It seemed odd, so I'm like, oh, I'm gonna watch the fight, and I watched it, and I'm like, what did Zaraga do to win the fight? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, and we actually got this intel from within the commissioner's office. They were just basically like, he can't change it because if he does, he'll lose his job at this point. Like, they intentionally made him put it in as that, like, the same day that the fight happened so that it could be irreversible. And he, like, goes back and he changes it now, like, he'll lose his job for cheating, basically, because that's what happened. You got paid off, you put a loss on my record I didn't deserve. And I mean, it's fine. I've come to peace with it. Getting robbed in this sport is nothing new. Like, it did happen to me a few times when I was in the amateurs too. So I know how to deal with it with grace. And at the end of the day, I know that I won, and my team knows that I won. I had no doubts about winning that fight. Obviously, there was room for improvement, as there always is, and I did make those improvements going into the fight that I just fought when I won my ABF title. But I know for a fact with full certainty that I won that fight. So I came to peace with it immediately. Because at the end of the day, you can fight the person and you can fight yourself, but you can't fight politics.
Yeah.
So I was unfortunately a victim of politics, but for me, a record doesn't really matter much to me anyways. So, having like an O on my record, it really doesn't much matter because I know that I'm the best. So, it doesn't matter if there's anything on that other side. At the end of the day, I'm the best and I'm going to fight the best. So you see that when you watch me. I don't have to prove it through a record. Like, a number doesn't matter.
Boxing God asks, Black Rose, how many fights do you plan on having before challenging a champion? You got a bad rap in that last fight. Keep your head up. And the corruption in boxing, because that's what it was. It was corruption. How long do you want it to be before you feel ready and your team feels ready to start targeting an alphabet title?
I actually am already ready. There was talks about me fighting for the IBO earlier this year, literally in January of this year. We had got so far as to, like, I accepted it, and then their team just didn't accept it. Like, they were like, oh, we want someone else, which is understandable. Obviously, if you just won a title, you want to defend it with somebody who is easier for you to beat, not so high risk. I'm a very high risk fighter. Like, you fight me, it's high risk that you're gonna lose. It's not like easy to beat me. Like, I'm not just a tomato can, I would say. So I already feel very ready. My team feels very ready. It's just about making it happen at this point. We are planning to go for a major title either by the end of this year or beginning of next year. So it is coming really, really soon.
Yeah, I noticed that you're one of the more active young fighters I've seen, and I
Mhm.
wanted to ask you about that. Like, how? Because you've debuted in 2019, I
Yeah.
believe you've already fought 11 times. So,
Mhm.
what do you attribute that schedule? Because you're more active than a lot of fighters.
Right. Um, well, okay, so I constantly live my life feeling like I'm running out of time. I know that that's really funny because I'm really young. But there's just so many different things that I have skill sets to do, and ultimately, like, I do understand that as a woman, I cannot stay in this sport physically as long as a man can. And because I understand that, I try to move my career at a pace at which I can both handle and can accomplish my goals in enough time to still thrive. Like my main concern is not being in this sport longer than I should. You
Mm,
know, I feel like a lot of fighters stay in here like past their expiration date. Not like necessarily that they're too old, because I know a lot of older fighters who do like great. But me personally, there are a lot of other things that I can do within this sport that don't include getting in the ring. And I do that after. So I want to get everything accomplished now physically in this sport so that I can continue to make change, so that there aren't things like corruption happening as much, or, there are people who can feel like they have a voice to speak.
mm. Now, as far as the weight of your upcoming fight, which I thought was very interesting, I know that you used to campaign as low as super flyweight, and you fought at bantamweight a couple of times too.
Yeah.
This fight is billed as a lightweight contest. That's 135. Can we expect that moving forward? That's where you're going to officially campaign, or will you go back down?
No, I will go back down. I came up just to test myself, honestly, as a test to myself. I just wanted to see how I could do it. It's like down there in the lower weights, there is good competition, but any of the girls that I ever called out down there just didn't want to fight me for one reason or the other. Um, so I just wanted to come up to test myself. And also, whether it's a minor belt or a major belt, I am winning belts. I am winning titles. Um, and I want to be a multi-division world champ. So minor or major, I like to test myself to see, I can fight this good down here. How can I fight up here? So this is just something that I'm doing for the right now. But no, it will not be where I'm officially campaigning at.
Having campaigned anywhere between superfly and now lightweight, where would you say you feel the most comfortable?
Um, oh God, I love super flyweight. I love super flyweight, but I also feel like I'm a lot stronger at bantamweight because
Mm.
just I have like a few extra pounds on me. And those extra pounds usually is muscle. I know, like, if you guys see my pictures, because I always say it all the time, my arms are huge. Like when I'm training the gym and stuff, like I don't ever really notice myself on camera, but I'm like, oh, I'm kind of buff. In a good way. Like I'm kind of buff, not too buff, like buff enough. So I just like I'll look at pictures of myself and I'm like, that's my arm. Or like I'll like catch myself in the mirror and be like, oh, my arm's huge. So, I definitely think like any amount of like weight that I go up, it does build to muscle. It makes me stronger. Like it doesn't really hold me back more so than it like contributes to what I already have.
Yeah, because I know you're very young. You're only 21, so I figured it could be possible that she's outgrown Superfly. Could be hard to make because I think you debuted when you were 19.
I was
Right?
19 and 20. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I figured, what, maybe making Superfly, which is 115 pounds, maybe that's become difficult over time. Is it still possible for you to campaign there?
Oh yeah, it's definitely still possible. I just wanted to test the waters in different across different weight classes, especially because some of these weight classes I might not get the opportunity to fight that I want. For one reason or the other, maybe their team doesn't fight me for it. Maybe they want to defend it against someone easier, what I went through earlier this year, or maybe for whatever reason I just don't get these opportunities in that specific weight class. I wanted to know that I was able to get in a different one.
Mm-mm. Now I remember some I'll say some months ago. We corresponded on Instagram, and I remember that you told me that you were asked if you were willing to take on Jamie Mitchell, the reigning WBA bantamweight champion. Talk to everybody about that and how she ended up fighting Carly Skelly instead of you.
Yeah, so we had gotten my coach. Actually, my coach is Kay Karoma. My coach got a message from one of the guys who was like matchmaking, and he was like, "Would you want to Mitchell for?" I was like, "Absolutely, I would." Like, like who wouldn't? So we did agree for the fight, and then we waited about literally like immediately started training camp before we even heard back. Like as soon as he asked, we got into like the hardest training I've ever been in my entire life to this day, for 3 straight weeks, and then he contacted and was like, "Oh, they decided to go with somebody overseas," which is understandable. It wasn't at the time. I was just like really confused because I was like, me and Jamie used to be sparring partners when we were at Floyd's together, so I was just like, it's a very easy fight, you're getting in there with somebody that you already know.
Mm-hmm.
But my coach had to break it down to me that I am, it would be more difficult to fight me for the defense or for the title than fight someone else, so they did end up going that way. There was like this whole big thing online about it also, which I know that you probably saw it.
Oh yeah, I saw it. I did a segment on it. I saw the whole thing.
Yeah, whereas like I was getting called a liar. Like I have the text messages, we just never showed them because they were making it sound like a breach of their contract, that someone even offered it to me without telling like her manager, which I'm not really sure what kind of contract they have going on over there. So that may be 100% true, but I also didn't want to get anyone fired. So I do have the messages. I also don't feel the need to prove myself because I don't need to lie. I'm at the point that I've been in this career for 10 years now, and I don't need to lie on anybody, like, at all. I also don't need to lie about offers that I get. It'll come when it's going to come. But if I said that it came, it did, and I wasn't the one who said no. I also don't think that she was the one who said no either. I believe that it was her team. Somebody in her team said no, because I've never known Jamie to like say no to somebody willing.
So you think it was her team who swerved it, not necessarily her as a fighter? But
it was her at all. Like I've known Jamie a long time. I've never known her to dodge anybody, like ever. So I don't think that it was her. And I think that's where a miscommunication happened with the online stuff, because she was just like thinking I was calling her scary. And I'm like, no, I'm not even talking about you. Like it had to have been someone on your team, but you don't need to come online talking to me crazy, because you're not my mom. You have a kid and it's not me. So.
How do you evaluate Jamie's chances? Jamie, very fun fighter to watch. I've seen her. She looked great with Carly Skelly. She's got a title. She's got the WBA. Ebony Bridges has the IBF. Who do you like in that fight?
Between Jamie and Ebony? I think Jamie would win that fight. Like I said, we used to be training partners, and like despite the like little beef or whatever online, I don't really care about that. Like I got too much going on to care about. Sorry, I got a call. But I think she has a really good chance. Jamie does have a lot of heart, and she's a very rough fighter. She's very tough fight. She doesn't have a glass chin. She can take a hit, for sure. So I definitely think, and she's hungry because she has been doing this a very long time. The first time I met Jamie I was like 13. We were in the Beautiful Brawlers together, in California. So we fought on that same card. That's the first time I ever met Jamie. But yeah, so I've known Jamie for a really long time, and she's very hungry because she's just now getting her opportunities, after all this time. So I don't really see, Ebony standing in her way. I definitely think it will be a good fight for sure, but I think like Jamie would get it, to be honest.
Shout out to iSlick Rick, who says, Julius, appreciate the content. Sorry if you've been asked this already, just got here. This question is for you, Zarina. But who are your favorite male fighters to watch? Looking forward to watching you succeed in your career. Who are your favorite guys in the sport right now?
Right now, like ones that haven't retired.
No, you...
Like I gotta tell everybody, I'm like a Manny Pacquiao fan. I was actually just wearing a shirt with one of his like fight posters on it, but I changed it to a Team ZARINA shirt for this interview. But yeah, Manny Pacquiao is my favorite. I also love Lomachenko. I saw him live last summer when he fought over here. The oh my god, where was it? The Virgin Hotels. It was crazy. I was like 4 rows from the front. I was fangirling. I was like, oh my god. I also love to watch Errol Spence. You know, those are my top 3, even though Manny Pacquiao doesn't fight anymore. Sad.
Well, speaking of Lomachenko, you know, you being a fighter, I want to pick your brain. You know, Lomachenko seems to be getting in line for a Devin Haney fight. That looks like they want, you know, Bob basically said that's what he wants to do. How do you see a fight like that playing out?
I think it's gonna be extremely interesting because Devin is still so fresh. You know, like he's been here obviously, and he's established now, but he's so fresh as far as like his age and like fully getting accustomed to the lifestyle that he lives now, this fame and like being like, one of the top prospects, you know, in the pros at this point. So I definitely think that that young hunger mixed with that like experience, you know, fighter who can do both would be a very match because Loma has a pro style, but he also still incorporates his amateur style into that pro style, which makes it a lot harder for people to deal with him. So I definitely think that it would be a really interesting mix and a great fight. That would be something I would be super excited to watch. Obviously, I would be Team Loma because he's like my favorite. Like, I definitely think that it would be a good fight. Like I can't see it being a blowout on either side.
Very good, very good. Also, while we're on the subject of potential matches, Usyk Fury, how do you see that?
Oh my god, I always want to say Fury just because he comes out here for training camps, and I've seen bar with like my teammates or like like, working out in the gym, and I always feel like people who've been through a lot have a little bit more of a push than people who haven't been through as much. Just because to some extent, people who go through a lot feel like they don't have anything else to lose. Like I've already been to the bottom. The only way I can go is up. And like even if I'm up, I never want to go back to the bottom again because I've already been there. So I always feel like people who go through a lot have a little bit more of a push and a drive that you can see more than people who may or have gone through as much or something not as intense. So I want to say Fury. Maybe that's just a little bit biased, but he is really good with his footwork, and he's very good sportsman and everything like that. So I really think that would also be a good fight. But I want to say Fury would get it.
A lot of people do. It's just the size of the guy too that
Yeah.
he moves as well as he does, and he's 6'9". Seems like
I'd be moving real slow. I don't know. I would be like fee fi fo fum in there. That's why God made me so little.
No, but hey, you're. I mean, for Superfly, you're big, and for Bantam, you're big. You actually have very good dimensions for those weights. Good reach, good height. So you're good at those weights.
I'm only about 5'3.5". I've been this height since I was 16. I've not grown an inch. Not even a half an inch. The doctor was like, "You're 5'3.5", and I have literally not gotten that other half. And he was like, "You're not growing anymore." I was like, "At all?"
Yo, look, you're 21. You never know. Maybe
like you're done. He goes, "Women stop growing at 16 or 17." I was like, "Oh." So I've been this height for forever, but my arm length is very long for my height, I will say. And in like the lower weights that I fight at, I am a lot taller than the women who fight down there. So that's actually like really good for me. It's just in these higher weights, they're a little bit taller than me. So like my last opponent when I fought for the ABF, she was taller than me, just a little bit, but my reach was longer than hers.
Well, the average height, I think the average height of a woman in this country, I don't know about another country, I don't know about those Scandinavian countries where the chicks are like 6'3", but I know in this country, I believe the average height of a woman is about 5'3" to 5'4", so you're all right. You know, you're
Average height. I'm the shortest person in like all my friends, and they don't ever fail to remind me either.
yeah, but you can box, so you're okay.
Yeah, I make up for it. It's because I have a like a little man complex. So like I'm short, but in my brain I'm really big. So like in my head, I'm super tall until it comes to like getting something off a shelf, and then I need a little bit of assistance. I can't do it alone.
Look, it's a common problem. Don't feel bad about it. We got a excellent set of fights coming up in a little over a week's time. You have Michaela Mayer, you have Alicia Baumgartner. How do you view that fight?
I'm so excited for that fight. I'm super excited to watch it. I think it's going to be great for women's boxing more than anything, because this is something that's like been building up for a while that we didn't think we'd see this soon, and everybody's super excited about it. And I think like this excitement for this fight is what we need in women's boxing to like continue to push it forward. Because when I turned pro in 2019, we didn't get that much attention. It was like women's boxing was just coming back. It was like, well, I got a lot of people telling me like, there's not a lot of people who care about women's boxing. So, maybe just don't get your hopes up, and like it's just crazy what happened in the last like 3 years. Now people are actually excited for these fights. Like they're like, oh, I gotta watch it. I gotta watch it. Like, there's more people talking about it. It's broadcasted more. It's networked more. I think this fight is so good for the sport. I'm also super excited. Actually, my coach just left to go train with Michaela right now. Sad face. Like he just told me over text yesterday. It threw me off. He's like, I have to go to London. I was like, what? And he was like, yeah. I was like, right now? And he was like, yeah, I'll be back. And he was like, make sure you do your workouts. I was like, oh, I didn't know you were leaving right now. But yeah, so it's definitely going to be a good fight for sure. Super
Who do you
excited.
think wins that fight, man? Look, I'm biased. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm biased. All right, I'm going with Alicia. It just is what it is. I'm with Alicia. Who do you? But just because you have a boxing brain, because you understand the sport in a way that fans don't, how do you see that fight?
Honestly, I don't think that it's going to be as clean cut as we think it may be, because you can understand if you honestly and truly, women fight with a lot more emotion than men do. Like men could go in there and fight their best friends and hug and kiss each other on the cheek after. Women take this sport so much more personally, in ways that like even if you were friends, you could instantly become enemies if you have to fight. Like like that. It's crazy. Like there's no compartmentalizing like the friendship or the mutual respect from the sport with most women fighters. So you have to think like they're both coming in here after talking crap to each other for months and like saying like
Years,
each other
years.
forever, for years, like just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Like you have to know that like every single thing that they've said to each other, they're gonna take to heart. Like they have taken to heart, like in this fight. So they're both gonna go in there with the intentions of like, not only am I gonna win, but I'm gonna beat her ass. You know what I'm saying? So
No, 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 definitely. That's why I'm waiting
yeah,
for it, because that's what I'm banking on. Michaela means business. Alicia means business. Alicia mean business, dog. Like she
in
want to
business.
beat her ass.
Yeah, so they're both going in there and they're both going to be going for knockouts. Like there's no let's just fight, let's give it a clean fight. They're going to go in there swinging. I wouldn't be surprised if the entire fight is just going back and forth, like back and forth. Like Alicia got in 1 second, Michaela got in 1 second, just back and forth, just throwing ones, like damn near like outside, run and fade outside.
Mm.
Like as close to that as you can get it. I feel like that's what it's gonna look like.
I have to admit that's definitely what I'm expecting. Like we know Michaela's a very good boxer, and so is Alicia, but this is personal, and yeah, you're gonna fight different when you actually don't like the person that's in there with you.
Absolutely. I've done that a couple times, fought some people I didn't like. It was like I remember this one time in the amateurs, there was this girl I just did not like. And I told my dad, like, I was like, because we met in the finals, I was like, I'm going to be honest, Dad, I don't care if I win or I lose. She's going to respect me after this. Like, I didn't even go in there with, like, I've got to win this tournament. Like, no, I was like, she's going to respect me because I'm going to beat her ass, whether they give me the decision or not.
Mm,
Like,
mm.
it's definitely different when you don't like the person you're fighting. It's completely different. Like your mindset is different, the way you fight is different. Like you could sit here and train like a professional, do everything with technique perfectly in training the whole time, and then get in there and want to just beat their ass because you don't like them. It's just so different.
Now, because, in America, the sport isn't yet in America what
Mm-hmm.
it is in Europe. You can see that in Europe, it is a little bit further along. All the major platforms have a stable or female fighters. All of them, Sky, BT, DAZN, they all got a stable. Here in America, that's not the case yet. But when you walk around and you have to tell people, no, I'm a pugilist, I'm a boxer, what's
Mm-hmm.
people's initial reaction when you tell them that?
When I tell people that, they're usually like, "Wow, you're a boxer? You don't look like a boxer."
Does
That's
that irritate you,
usually
though?
there. I'm used to it. I'm a pretty good sport about it. It used to bother me a lot because I used to be like, well, like what does a boxer look like? You know, it used to bother me a lot. But now I'm pretty used to it because it happens all the time. And everybody's just pretty much like always the people who met me in the gym. Like they'll be like they won't say anything until after like they see me spar, they saw a fight, and then they go, wow, I mean, I knew you would like box, but I didn't know you were that good. And it's just kind of like, I mean, thanks. I
No,
don't,
it's a compliment. It is a compliment, though, when if they're taken back by it, because
yeah,
and I've seen a good number of your fights, very clean style, very neat and tidy, pure boxer, southpaw, jab looks great, the backhand, it looks great. But I imagine that it takes people by surprise that someone so unassuming is
mhm.
actually a boxer.
Yeah, it is always like a, you box? Like, didn't you don't look like a boxer. Like, or like, my favorite, you're too pretty to box. You don't want to mess up that pretty face. That's my favorite.
That sounds like that's the one that annoys you the
That,
most.
and I'm always have to be like, and I hate like the response that I always have to give because it makes me sound so cocky, and I'm like, I'm not that kind of person, but like, I always have to be like, well, hit that much, so, and I hate like having to say that because I don't want to sound like, oh, she is super arrogant, and I'm not an arrogant person, but it's like, what do I really say to that? Like I can't be pretty and a boxer, like I have to just be
You have
one.
to choose, like you have to choose or
Like I
something.
didn't realize that they were mutually exclusive. I thought I could just be both.
Now we got another major fight, titillating fight. One of the main event to the card that we just talked about. Clarissa Shields, Savannah Marshall. I have to say, I've seen a lot of women's fights. I have. I've seen a whole lot, especially the last, I'll say, 5 years that I've been covering the sport. There's very few punchers I've seen that punch like Savannah Marshall. Do you
Mm.
think she can get a knockout?
I'm not sure about a knockout. I mean, obviously anything is possible because one punch could change everything. So it is possible. I do personally think that Savannah will win. I just don't know if it'll be by knockout.
You think she can win on a decision against Clarissa?
I think she could win on a decision.
It's a great
Like
fight. That's
I don't think she has to knock her out to win.
You
Like I
think
think
she can
she really,
outbox her?
well, they fought in the amateurs. It's just they because of how long it took for this fight to get set up, there's a certain like mental like aspect. Like obviously every fight has like a mental aspect, but when it's something in this specific kind of situation, it's like mentally for years Savannah has just been saying little stuff to Clarissa, saying little stuff. And we all know how vocal Clarissa is. Like we all know that. Clarissa will talk her crap right back. But once you start hearing things so many times from that same person, you start to think like, damn, she really thinks she can beat me. Like it's like planting little seeds in there. So there is a mental aspect, whereas like Clarissa is not just physically fighting her. She's mentally fighting her now too. And she's mentally fighting herself to beat her. So it's like mental training is way harder than any physical training that you could do in boxing. Mental training is a killer. Like you could be tip top shape physically, and mentally you have one slip up mentally. You think one bad thought and you get that in your head and you can lose the entire fight. So I think there is a mental, aspect of this fight in which we don't know what their mentalities are going to be going in there. How mentally capable they're going to be to sustain this fight physically without mentally giving up.
Now, I wanted to ask you about the fight back in April, which was dubbed the biggest fight in women's boxing. I think it lived up to my expectations. It was great. Talking about Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. 19,000 in attendance. 1.5 million people viewed the fight. What were your thoughts about that fight going in? What were your thoughts about that fight going out?
Oh, that was a great fight. I was super excited for that fight too. I personally thought Serrano was gonna win, like from day one. Just because I see videos of her training and like I hear things about her, and she's always been like a really hard worker. I also think that things like that is really good for the sport of women's boxing, because these are the big fights that people want to see, and they put it together and made it so that we could see two stars in the ring together. I would definitely like to see another one though. Like, I think that's something that they should look into. Seeing, I'd love to see how the second one would turn out.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I've been saying it for years. I thought that Katie would win. I never thought it would be easy, but I did think Katie would win. And in a rematch, I feel like, look, it's better for featherweight if Amanda stays there, because Amanda has a name. And that division needs a profile. You did what you did with Katie, and the fight was great, and everybody liked it. But I actually rather see Amanda stay where you are, become undisputed, and get that division a profile. Because, yeah, you could run it back with Katie. And I feel like Katie would win again, to be honest, probably more decisively, because she learned from the first fight. Like, don't mix it up with her. Don't trade with her. Don't punch with her, because she hit hard.
Right. I feel like some of us underestimate Katie Taylor, like her drive, like her unwillingness to give up. I feel like that is something, me personally, I feel like I underestimated that a lot with her before that fight. Like, I was just thinking like, oh, Serrino's just gonna do what she always does, and it's gonna be overwhelming for her. But she, Katie Taylor she gonna take a punch, she gonna keep going, So I think that that's definitely something that was underestimated with her. But I also feel like if they did, which they probably won't, but if they did do it again, they both learned from that experience. So you never know what could happen, because Serrano could go in there with an entirely different style that she's never fought with before, specifically for her, and went just off that because she learned.
That's true. No, that's true. That's that. I didn't think about that, but that's true. The rule of thumb I always hear is that in a rematch situation, the fighter that can make the most adjustments is usually the fighter that wins. So when I think about that, I'm like, well, yeah, Katie has two base styles. She can be an outside fighter when she wants to, like she wants to box, amateur points-based style. She can do that. And when she wants to, put punches together, combinations on the inside, she can do that also. I think she found out in this fight that she just had, they're like, no, you can't do that with Amanda. If you're in the pocket with her, you're going to get hit hard. So you got to outpoint her. Irod says, wish you, Zarina, the best in the future, and he will be tuning in. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. Rick Ramos says, you're very well spoken, and he is impressed.
Oh, thank you.
Now, that's Rick Ramos, who handles the career. For those that don't know, that is Rick Ramos, manager and trainer extraordinaire to Jessica McCaskill, who is going to be in a very big fight very soon, but I'm not going to tell ya. And yeah. And but yeah, man, I would actually prefer that Amanda, because she wants to, and that's the other thing. She wants to go undisputed. So I would rather see her do that for herself and that division, which needs that profile boost so that people start watching that division and those girls. I would prefer that, you know what? We don't need to see a second fight. Stay there and do your thing.
Yeah, I definitely think your goals should be your main priority, like more so anything else, any petty beef or, obviously we do this partially for the entertainment of our viewers, our watchers, our supporters. Of course, well, we do it because we love it, but also we do it for the sake of entertaining the people who do support us, who, pay our way to continue to do it. But I also think that, going into this sport, you should always have a set goal and stay focused on it. You know, that's pretty much what keeps me going, because boxing is not easy. Like, mentally, it's way harder mentally than it is physically. Like, there's some days I can barely move that I'm so sore physically, but my hardest days are when I feel completely fine, but mentally it's
Mm.
just you have to like really, I really feel like you have to like stay extremely focused on the goal that you set for yourself. So like, you want to be undisputed. It doesn't matter who you lose to, who you have beef to, whatever the case may be. That's your goal. That's what you should focus on. That's what you should spend your entire career focusing on. It's super easy to get off track in this sport, because like, despite how amazing it is and how many opportunities that you get from it, is also can be very ugly, very messy, and like very drama filled. So, staying true to yourself and like your goals is probably like the best thing to keep you grounded in this sport.
How do you offset the I guess the, for lack of a better word, toxic elements or draining elements of boxing? How do you offset that, like hobbies or outside endeavors? What do you do outside of the boxing?
I cry. I'm just kidding. Kidding. No, I'm not kidding. I do. I cry a lot. You can ask anybody. One day there's going to be a documentary out, and everybody who ever has ever trained with me is going to get interviewed, and they're all going to tell you that I'm a crybaby. So I have to put it out here now so y'all don't find out later. I cry. That's like my main thing that I do when there's a problem, when I'm feeling down, I feel like I can't do it mentally. I cry. I'll cry to myself. I'll cry to my coach. I might cry to my teammates. I'm going to cry though. Like, there's one thing I'm going to do. I'm going to cry. Like, I might even cry in the bathroom before training. Like, but I'm going to cry first. After that, I solve the problem.
It's the win. If it works, so, some people have rituals they do before a big game. Some people
Yeah.
have rituals they do before a big fight. Yours is crying.
One thing about me, I'm going to cry. If I feel overwhelmed, if I feel sad, whatever, I'm gonna cry. Like, any emotion that I have, I'm gonna cry, because I'm just sensitive. That just is what it is. But outside of boxing, I'm really busy. Like, I'm a really busy person. I don't ever actually get free time to myself much anymore. I box, I work, I go to school. I actually just started my semester today. So I go to school. I am pretty much busy all the time. Like, sleep, who's that? Like, I wouldn't know. But when I do get some free time, I write. I write poetry. I have some novels in the works. Sometimes I just like to write letters. Like, anything to just get my emotions out there. Because I have so many thoughts going through my head all the time. Like, in my brain is a hamster wheel. That's why I cry so much. There's so much going on in there at one time. But it's like a hamster wheel. There's like a little hamster up here just running, 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 running all the time. I have like so many different thoughts all the time, and none of them make sense at all. Like, no. So I have to like write. I have to like get my creativity out some way. When I'm at home by myself, my dad's like at work in the middle of the night, I will put my TV on YouTube and just sing karaoke super loud. I'm sure my neighbors love me. Anyway, to get the creativity out, I do it. It's just like, you have to get it out. It's just like all builds up in there.
No. I look. I have a million hobbies, and I know exactly what you mean. That you're gonna obsess over it until you get it out, whether it's a drawing or a
Yeah,
beat or a story, or because those are the little. And I know exactly what you mean. That you got to get it out, and you're not gonna go to sleep until you get it out.
you
Yeah.
get it. It's like gnawing at you. I
Yes.
I over like COVID, when we were in the lockdown, I written so many songs. Like, I had like 7 songs just ready for the studio when they opened. My phone crashed and I lost all of them. I know. And I got so depressed after, because I couldn't recreate them, and I literally stopped writing. I was so hurt. I was so upset. It was like some of my best work. And I just stopped writing for a really, really long time after that. I finally just finished one of the songs, but it's like the inspiration hit me while I was driving on the freeway. And I was like, I can't write this and drive. I pulled over at a gas station and I sat there for an entire hour and finished the song.
Voice memos, man. Use
I
voice
did,
memos.
but my phone crashed and everything deleted. Like,
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, you said the phone. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and I usually write it down on paper so that just in case that ever happens, like I always have. So I write everything on paper, and then I transfer it to my docs and my computer. But I keep the paper copy, and then I always have a copy in my phone. But at the time, I was on the move so much in lockdown because I was still training and fighting and stuff that I would just write it on my phone whenever it just sparked in my head.
Yeah,
So
look, the same. I swear to God, the
I write
same story. I was making beats, but I had an old desktop, and you know, I had Fruity Loops on it, and it must have been too much for it to handle because all my project files, when the hard drive died,
yeah,
everything, and I didn't want to make any. I was like, yeah, I can't make any beats for a while because I'm pissed.
writing for about a year after that. I was so, oh my God, I cried. I'm not gonna, I like cried to my dad. I was like, oh God. And he was just like, that's just God telling you that you have something better to say. And I said, I don't have anything to say now. I was like hysterical.
But I'm gonna tell you something. Those kinds of experiences, especially for somebody that is an artist of any kind, you actually do learn something from them. Don't get too attached to any particular project because there's more where that came from.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's what I took away from it. That look, I can still make great beats. Granted, I'm fucking pissed because I worked on these shits and then all those project files are gone, but there's more where that came from.
Yeah, I definitely was hurt for a minute. Like, it took me a minute to start writing again. I'm not gonna lie. And then I finished that song, and I told my dad. He goes, "No, you didn't." I said, "Yes, I did." And he was like, "Well, you've lived a little more. So I'm sure it's better." And I was like, "It's a lot sadder. I'm gonna tell you that."
All right, last, I guess, just tidbits. Last couple of questions. Favorite song on the radio?
Oh my God, favorite song on the radio. I don't even listen to the radio anymore.
Nobody does really.
No,
Favorite song at this moment that you immediately go to if you want to listen to a song or a particular artist?
I'm gonna be honest. On repeat since it dropped, I've been forcing all my friends or anybody who gets in my car to listen to Brent Faiyaz's album Wasteland, the new one.
Okay.
Completely obsessed. I love Brent Faiyaz. Okay, if you see me marry him one day, just know I manifested that. I'm in love with that man. I love his music. Listen, I even said I'd be willing to let him break my heart if he writes a song about me.
Jesus Christ.
I'd be willing to get my heart broken if I could get a song. Just write a spectacular song about me. We'll call it even.
Okay. Last really good movie that you watched.
Oh my God, last really good movie that I went to see Black Phone when it dropped.
How was that?
Had my anxiety spiked the whole movie. I was anxious. I was over there shaking my leg. I was like playing with my necklace. I was like, ooh, what's gonna happen next? I'm anxious.
Just don't tell me the movie because I'm real big on horror movies. But is it because I love horror movies. Is it good?
Yes, it's worth watching.
Okay.
Definitely worth watching. But if you're an anxious person, I am an anxious person. If you're an anxious person, you're gonna be like, get to it already. Like
I love those movies. I love movies like that.
Whole movie, I was like, oh, get to it. Come on, get to it. And I was like nervous the whole time. My hands were sweating. Like I was so anxious about the movie, I stopped eating. Like everything I bought, couldn't even eat it. I could not stick to my stomach the whole movie.
Yo, that's crazy, fam. That's crazy. All right, last, I'm gonna plug your fight. September 24th, next month, south of the border, against Paulina Cardova, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let everybody know, Rena McCoy, tell the boxing community at large what you've got to say in one sentence.
Okay. Super excited for this fight. This is for 2 titles, the UBO and the WIBA World. So super excited for this. It is pay-per-view and it is live stream. So tune in. Make sure you watch it. Come support me. And if you already support me, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time, Zarina. Always welcome. Look forward to your next fight.
Thank you for having me.